Okay, this is Dave Durand. We are talking about 100 questions and 100 answers on how to build your business from 0 to 100 million or anywhere between. I have Patrick Lang ask me some questions, and he said I can use his name or I wouldn't. He has his own company. It's called Certainty Team. I think he may have partners in there too. But he's asking me several different questions. I cannot get to all of his questions because these are really designed to answer one question at one time, but I'm going to answer two of them, okay? And I could actually, Patrick, if you're watching and you want me to come back to, I don't want to answer the second one because it has too many legal issues in it, but I could come back to one more if you're eager, and maybe we can tack it on to another show. But I've got a whole slew of questions that have come in, and just not incidentally, you can email the question at durandondemand@gmail.com, durandondemand@gmail.com. It's a good way to do it because they might be a little bit longer. Or if it's a simple one, you can put it in comments and I can answer the question. Make sure you're sharing the page, liking and subscribing, sending it on to other people as well too. But let's dive in here with Patrick and his questions. The first one of Patrick's questions is basically, and I'm going to summarize it because it's written a little bit longer. I provide financial services, and I'm wondering how many is too many products to offer at one time. Do I distract the clients or the customers? Does it become unfocused? Now, I want to compliment you, Patrick, from the beginning because the way you framed out your question says that you're just far ahead and you're going to do well in business, and you already have. I got a chance to look at your website. You're seasoned. But what I also want to point out, though, is that the way that you ask the questions actually presumes that I think you may know the answer already. So on focus, what we have to remember is instead of asking, do I have or do I not have too many products, the question is, am I branding myself effectively? So McDonald's, when they started, they had basically fries, Coke, and a shake. Oh, fries, burger, and a Coke. They added shakes too. Maybe you had them right away. Anyway, the point would be that they started small and they branded themselves. People liked it and trusted it. But when you think of McDonald's, you think, first of all, burgers. It's a burger place, okay? Now, their burgers must be so good that when they add a Filet-O-Fish, that also must be good because I trust the brand. Now, maybe you don't like McDonald's, but you get the point. And now, they added, chicken. It must be good because McDonald's is good. And people use that line of thought because the brand took hold. Now, clearly this doesn't apply to everyone. You can just start with a simple one product and then expand. If you're going to open a candy shop, you can't have one candy or three candies. You're going to fail. You have to have more than one candy. So this doesn't apply to every business equally. But to get back to Patrick's question, what we have to remember is if you understand what branding is, it makes it easier to build it into your marketing material, your sales approach, and into your website. So what does it look like? There are two parts to branding, and most people don't know this. If you were to go to the common business owner and say, are you branding your business? They're going to go, well, of course we're branding our business. Because they know they're supposed to know what it means and that they're doing it, but they don't actually know. So if you say, well, how are you branding your business? Their response is going to be, well, like I said, we're branding. And if you press them further, they don't know. So they're going to probably say something like, well, we bought some coffee mugs and they have our logo. That's not branding. What is it to brand a business? You need two things. You need top of mind awareness, a thought. I think of your product when I think of that need, and I like it. I feel good about it. So if I were to say, think of a friend, and you thought of a friend, and I said, well, it's got to be a friend who you would trust to help you with a favor, you might have changed the friend. So one friend you thought of, but the other one is much more branded because you feel more affinity. Now, the reason the friend analogy breaks down is because there's really no such thing as a negative brand. People talk about it, there's a negative brand. Really, it's kind of like saying there's a bad friend. Once they're under the category of bad friend, they're really no longer a friend. So once a brand becomes bad, it's not really a brand. Think Enron, these sorts of things. Even recently when Wells Fargo had a problem and their brand suffered, it didn't go all the way. It was still a positive brand. It just was less positive and they had to bring it back. So how do you do that? Well, here's how you do it. You may have to offer a little bit of a buffet, a little menu of products, particularly in financial services like this, but you want to focus on one. And you want that one to be the central focus of your presentation, the central focus of what you're doing on your website so that people can say, I trust that. I feel great about that. It's like the original Nike shoe. I like the Nike shoe. It's trustable, it's reliable, it's hip, it's cool. So therefore, if you're going to have a hat and you're going to have a glove and you're going to have, a shirt, I'm going to get the hat, shirt, and glove. And they're probably going to be great. And even if they're not, they're cool. So I got them anyway. And I've got some forgiveness in how high quality they are because I think they're cool. And Others think I'm cool. So that's what you do. You centralize that and you make it that theme and that core. It's understood in the presentation. It's understood in the website. It's understood in marketing materials. And once people galvanize toward that and they believe in it and they want to buy that, now you say, oh, and we have these additional services. And they say, well, since I trust the first part, I therefore am inclined to trust the second part. It's a simplistic answer, but it's actually one that is really good to build upon and to get started. Okay, the next part is on serial entrepreneurship, basically. Okay, the question is, it's a bonus question. He said, basically, I have multiple streams of income that I view that I'd like to get into. Some I'm into, and whatnot. It's a more detailed than that, and he kind of goes into what some of them are. But the answer that I can provide the general audience is actually quite similar to the identical one that I would tell Patrick. And I, again, want to thank Patrick for his question. I think it's great. I think that you've really got a great platform to build some tremendous things from what I've seen right here. So my compliments to you. But here's the thing about serial entrepreneurship. And Patrick doesn't use the word, and I compliment him on not using that word either. He talks about income streams. But people talk about all these income streams, and they talk about serial entrepreneurship. Serial entrepreneurs are generally, and this is not Patrick, but this is generally a serial entrepreneur. It's a person who doesn't actually accomplish anything. They're supposed to build a 100-foot bridge. They build it to 95 feet or to 5 feet, and they have a bunch of unbuilt bridges that don't go all the way and serve no purpose. If you're going to really be a person who has multiple streams, get one going. Master a stream, master a business, take it to its completion, whatever that exit is, and make it happen. How do you generally know that? People who call themselves serial entrepreneurs but really fail to be serial entrepreneurs are people who have built something that's no bigger than themselves, meaning that when they go away, it goes away. That's a worker bee, not an entrepreneur, not a serial entrepreneur, okay? If you're building something that when you leave, it stays there, that's something you can hang your hat on. If somebody can take it over, somebody can build it beyond that. Now you've done something pretty awesome and pretty special. It doesn't mean that every exit needs to be some big multiple exit on an EBITDA because you've sold the company. It might be that you handed it down, but it exists. It's currently there. You've established that you can build something that has staying power. Now you can go to the next thing and the next thing. And if you can accomplish that with several, you have a pattern, and you might actually have the ability to move some things and start several things at one time and not have to complete one because you know how it needs to be completed and who needs to be involved to complete it to get it there. So here's why I say that. 100% of revenue coming from something real, okay, is better than, or I would even say like, mild revenue in something that is real is better than big revenue in something that's a fantasy. Okay? And most people fantasize about the future or about what income streams may be, and they take their focus away from this. It's like you can't focus on it. It runs against the actual definition of focus to say, focus on this, focus on that, focus on my nose. You can't. You can maybe see some in the peripheral, but you're going to have to pick one to focus on. So if it's up and running and it's managed and it's going somewhere, now you can get to the next one. So hopefully that's helpful. Again, Patrick, great questions. I'm glad that you asked them. I'm going to hope to get to one of your additional questions here and something else, but I'm going to encourage you again to share the page, to go ahead and like the page, and to comment if you have a question, or again, email me at dave@durandondemand for the next one.